G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks After Ukraine War update for the 4th of August 2026. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood of Cain, Pale Games, Into the Elsbound, and The Erotic Tales of the Empire Part 1 and 2. Part 3 is coming soon, I'm hoping it's a month away. All my links are in the link tree. Now, as the war continues, I continue to bring you comprehensive news and coverage of this conflict. Hey, as we look around the war map, we have a bunch of target strikes, though the strikes today on Kiev are not marked, though Russia reports strikes on Kiev. We do have strikes here on Dnipro. Is it Mykolaiv? Yes, Mykolaiv, sorry. And south of Odessa, we have two south of Odessa, Klobomosk. Although, let's believe this is the river estuary often used by these Ukrainian special forces to launch drone boats over to Crimea. Now, by special boat unit, I mean the British, of course. Now, when it comes to skullduggery, betrayals, and infamy, the British top the list. But they're not the only ones, of course. Now, as we look around the map, the Russians are primarily working on this buffer zone, and they are not always successful, but they are moving the goalposts. They are slowly increasing their hold on territory. Now, major towns like Kupiansk seem to be well defended, but unable to kick the Russians completely out. So we have, yet again, fighting in Kupiansk. Fighting in the Lyman area is constant and consistent and sporadic. It's never in the one place for long, except Lyman. And, well, for once this town hasn't been hit, but it's always in this area fighting, but Lyman is consistent. All right. This town again, let's see. Though Russia hasn't taken this town, they have extended the operations in this area here, the Russians, I mean, and looking to go off Krasvyuka. The Russians are extending have extended their and trying to extend their control of this area here, but they're also putting pressure on Ukrainians elsewhere, which is meant to draw away troops. There's no evidence it does or has not weakened the Ukrainian position. They're still fighting over this bridge here. And yesterday they tried to cross the river, and here they have crossed the river as they can extend from many river crossings to the south. They are working their way up the river from both sides now. Now, again, major towns aren't the only ones. Now, this area has been, of course, is quiet again, though there was a few operations here in the north. No. Not always can you see my mouse. Hey, the Russians actually moving this way. They're moving northeast out of Krasnokovia. But they are continuing it's officially security operations in Krasnokovia. And by security operations, I mean trying to get rid of the Ukrainian infiltrations that keep occurring. And of course, there are Ukraine refuses to admit they've lost control of the territory. They have people there, doesn't mean they control it. But for Russia, it's the same thing. They have people there, doesn't mean they control it. It is a grey zone. And speaking of grey zones, this area is slowly being brought under Russian control. So the Russians are looking to close off the Ukrainian forces here, pushing north, security operations and shelling. Often here, they report clashes in the region. Doesn't mean they occurred here. They mean they occurred in this general area. They don't, often these reports, as you see, clashes yesterday near, quote, near Koshnikovia. So, and remember, the Russians are attacking usually multiple locations in unison, but not simultaneously. So these are operations over 24 to 48 hours, where sometimes as long as 72 hours of fighting. There are rotations, of course, and there are rotations also happening every 6 weeks, and as well as reinforcements to replace losses. And as you can see, there are slowly pushing into mining, and they are working to cut off mining at the same time. Here they're working from multiple angles to push the Ukrainians out up to here. They're trying to hold on to Novovishka, and as well as trying to control the road access to Donetsk. And as we look at Zaporozhye, there's really not much change going on here. Now, again, Russia has claimed to have taken towns, and as you can see, they have crossed the river here and increased their hold on Kherson, but there's no reports of battles. So this could be a case of taking advantage of Ukrainian weak Ukrainian positions, that they are most likely only have people there to say, hey, the Russians are coming, pull back, and then, and then the rest of the Ukrainian forces marshal in the area, and then there's a standoff, because the Ukrainians don't always clash. The Russians and Ukrainians have seen enough battlefield footage to say that they do not always clash. They will often, and I've seen this, where they will just sit there in the trenches for days or weeks deciding what to do. Why is that? Because the soldiers don't want to just pop their heads off and have it blown off by a cannon or a drone. This ain't World War I, where you can, or even the Soviet Union, where you can say, march or I'll shoot you in the back. No. Although it is alleged, Ukraine has told people and has seen people shot for desertion. But both sides are reporting trouble. So, and both sides are reporting trouble to everyone but their own people. But however, Poland now is the latest to take the torch for Ukraine. Why is that? We'll get to that shortly, but in short, Macron is unavailable for comment. We don't know how bad it is, whether it is his, shall we say, wife. Without going into any of the conspiracy theories or acknowledging the conspiracies, I am saying wife as in she can hit him hard and he just stands there and take it. And we've seen this on camera. So, wife, loving partner, you mean he's abusive handler. Because we now know he didn't want to get into politics. It was her idea. And he was only a young man at the time. She is living vicariously through Macron. She has groomed him and bullied him his entire life. And now there are serious questions about his health, mental capacity, the political ability to hold an alliance together of radicals, because he can't win, because the French socialists can no longer win elections. Sorry, social democrats and other socialists that make up Macron's party can't hold them together. And you have the you have the Greens, who are increasingly taking his vote. You have the Republicans who are taking his vote. The days of the French socialist dictatorship may be over. Although Sarkozy was supposed to put an end to that, but he turned out to be another dud. Now, I honestly think that politics and duds go together. They tend to attract more. The good people tend to not attract the attention of the media. So the duds get the focus. The duds get to be the rising stars. And so often, more than not, the duds get to be the ones who destroy the political careers of others and sink the party in their wake and in their fall. However, Sarkozy may not have been corrupt. He may have been set up by his staff, and that's what happened to Nixon, but you don't want to believe that, do you? You want to move on. Poland and the War of the Willing. Now, the War of the Willing, another coalition of the willing. But however, it makes Poland prepared to prepare a coalition of the willing with the British and French to secure Ukraine. Eastern Shield, with Germany, who right now is unable to mobilise. Now this is, again, claiming attacks from Russia and Belarus. However, they want to solve things militarily instead of economically. Whereas I think Scott Pessant has going to prove in the long run that he's a better tactician and more likely Scott Pessant in the Ukraine war than, say, the dandy of London, or Merkel 2.0, or Hollande's toenail in France. Poland, on the other hand, yes, if there was a ground war, Poland. However, I'd like to ask you a question. You really support the integrity of Ukraine? Okay, what about the integrity of Poland? Ukraine is holding on to Polish territory given to it by Russia. What about the integrity of Romania? Hey, what about the integrity of Kosovo, Serbia, Yugoslavia? What about the integrity of the Sudan or Yemen? When is integrity of a country important to you, Tibet? What about the integrity of Tibet, by the way? There's a lot of hypocrites out there, folks, on the left. When it comes to territorial integrity, rules for thee is all I'm saying. But Poland is a very good reason, and I think logistically, technologically, and militarily, Eastern Europe would give Russia for its money without Western Europe. And perhaps a Western European stabilization force should only consist of military police. I'm telling you right now, Ukraine does not need soldiers or an army. It needs police and policing. If you love Ukraine, you want to make sure that an end to the war happens swiftly and peacefully and deals with the criminality and crime wave that is destroying Ukraine from within. Right. Rebuilding Ukraine would need a stabilization force, absolutely, but it needs to be a policing force. Ukraine's army and police need to be stood down and return to the fields, return to the factories, and have a new... Look, I put together a 10-point plan if you want, but I'm not, for now. All right, moving on. The Empire Valve's official not suitable for artwork. Hey, bang for buck, right? You want to support the channel? Hey, but you But you just don't want another e-beggar sticking his hands in your pocket every month? Hey, why not just buy my books, buy my merch, and you don't have to be a regular contributor. You could be a once-off contributor. So, launching soon is the Empire of Elves art book. But it's not. Some art is not suitable for work, and it's all about the Empress Sora, the effervescent, elegant demoness, the Empress of the East, the Empress of the Elves. Now, Zelensky is in trouble with his own people. He has made a huge blunder, and he can't walk it back. On Fox News, when interviewed, he was asked for the latest tally on casualties. He has said 50,000. Well, 6 months ago, he said 55,000. He has said 50,000 or for 3 years. You're telling me no Ukrainian has died? No, there's been casualties, 400,000. And even then, that was questioned because people have dug up and found, but he claims their losses are 1.6 million. But it jumped like 400,000 in 2 weeks? Yeah. None of the figures claimed by Zelensky are backed up by anyone, not even the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Why is that? Because their assessment was done in February 24th, 2022. And since then, all they've done is add the same amount of Russian. Okay, every time a Russian dies, a Ukrainian dies, they claim it's a Russian. Every time. They've added their own casualties to the death lists of Russians. Even Russian servicemen in the service of the British, even Russians working for the British, have said they only have 230,000-ish numbers of dead Russians. The actual number, however, according to researchers, even NATO places it only at 500,000 Russians. Now, these are confirmed dead from funeral notices. And as you know, not every funeral gets noticed. Official notices. Even the BBC reported 200,000 dead Ukrainians in February, but it hasn't gone up since then. Even the Ukrainian army stuck at 100,000 about same time last year. Zelensky's in a pickle. They can't, and I've pointed this how many times they can't stick. One hand isn't washing the other. They are all lying, and they all can't stick to the same lie. This is why he got rid of general recently, defense minister recently. They're all stabbing each other in the back. This is why Ukraine needs a stabilization force of police. It is going to collapse. Zelensky can't hold this country together, let alone any other country at peace. He can't. Most leaders struggle holding a country together in peacetime with political conflict. He is trying to handle political conflict, shall we say, espionage, where he has rival factions fighting each other for control of military and civilian intelligence organizations. He has officers killing each other to get promotions. This is confirmed. Remember, you can look up the hand grenade scandal. They were posting hand grenades to each other. A child was killed by a hand grenade in the post. Zelensky is not the man for the job. Unfortunately, the left, because of their arrogance and their ego, we can't suppress it. We can't go against him. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? You paint yourselves in the corner with your own slogans. That's why. And why are people on the right listening to the left? Who knows? Ukraine has been accused of terrorism. A drone struck group of people in a Russian beach, killing at least 7. Now, these are supposedly AI drones with targeting. It mistook a group of people for a Russian naval base? I don't think so. This was yet again another targeted murder by Ukrainians, targeted terrorism. This is the bringing it home strategy, folks. They are targeting Russian business people in the open because Europe has no morality. It only has rules for thee and not for those in power. As casualties mount from the fire at Wildberries factories, more civilians have died again from 131 drone attacks on 11 businesses across Russia. 11 attacks on Wildberries. How many times do you have to be told Ukraine is using the West to murder Russians to build their own economy as the logistics hub of Europe for Chinese goods to flood into Europe? How many times do you have to be warned? Now, Kiev's backers are facing a huge problem. Macron. Now, the French, of course, are claiming the Macron's departure is not early or premature. He's still going to hang on to the end. He's increasingly cutting his public appearances. He has shown up bruised, battered, tired. He's not getting sleep. This usually happens when cocaine no longer keeps you up, figuratively and mentally and psychologically. Right? Your brain, smooth brain syndrome, okay, where basically your brain is so soaked by drugs and alcohol, you can't get high anymore. You can see this with Mick Jagger. He says he can take Keith Richards. Every time he takes drugs, they find him in a tree somewhere in Fiji. Yeah. Your brain just becomes cross-wired. Yeah, there's fears in the British newspaper about leadership vacuum. A group of mostly NATO states have spent up plans, drawing plans up for Ukraine. And once again, these so-called plans keep getting leaked by the French. These are not invasion plans or war with Russia plans. These are post-war plans to send to what sort of stabilization force they think needs to go into Ukraine. Now, yes, Russia would leak them if they had, but no, these are leaks coming from within inside the French bastion of power. You think that's Russian disinformation or Russian intelligence? No, Russia, like everyone else, is reading telegram channels from Andy Burnham and the French Prime Minister and many others, and they're getting leaks. People are leaking to Russia palace gossip because right now it's like it's not like 20 years ago where you could go to a left-wing newspaper and say, I'm a whistleblower, and get published. Now, there'll be two potential replacements, though the British newspaper said the dangerous rise of I think the article in the British newspaper is called The Dangerous Rise of Marine Le Pen, and in France, I forget who they're talking about, but they're talking about firebrand Jean-Luc. So you can see they're choosing their sides. The British don't want Jean-Luc, and the French, of course, the French socialists don't want Marine Le Pen. And, of course, if I was to put money on it, I would say Luc leaked this to the British media, which was instantly picked up by Russia, who monitors the British press, knowing their British press are an arm of MI. Is it MI5, CIA? Who's ever got the power at the time within British intelligence? However, a official told the Telegraph, a mouthpiece for the British establishment, that yes, that NATO faces a big problem if an anti-NATO candidate gets in. But the Russians are not worried about an anti-NATO candidate. They're worried about an Anglo-French relations. Why is that? Because they want the Anglos and French to go back to hating each other. Of course. Remember, the Anglos had conquered France. The French rebelled. So basically the Napoleonic War, and then Napoleon conquered Germany, and then the Anglo-Saxons and even some Normans, and of course all the Nordics, they tried to kick France's ass. They lost, but France got their asses kicked after losing with the help of the Austrians and the Hungarians, when Napoleon lost most of his army to the Russians. So, yes, Russia wants France and England to be at each other's throat because that takes the pressure off them. However, you do have a coalition of Spanish, Belgium, Swedish, and Canadians who want security guarantees for Ukraine only through funding, training, and logistics, rather than combat deployments. Well, yes, that would mean, however, military police. It's a very good, sensible solution. I don't know why security for Ukraine needs you to destroy. I mean, after all, have you ever asked the people of the Donbass what they want? Remember, those who support democracy supported destroying the integrity of Yugoslavia, and other countries, but they don't want to restore the integrity of Poland or Germany or even Russia. No, they want to restore the integrity of Ukraine at 1958 borders. Why not 1932? It's the same with Gaza. Oh, let's restore the Gaza to 1949 borders. Why 1949 or 1948? Because it's strategically advantageous to them. They are asking for advantage. They are asking you to let them decide for others. The left are always bullies. So why do you listen to them? Other than to find out what the twats are up to, of course. Now, Russia has claimed to have liberated 2 towns. And of course, when Europe liberates Kosovo, it's stunning a brave. Now, again, free Tibet. Oh, there goes my China privileges, right? But do you see the left supporting Tibet or Tibetan or Uyghurs or Nepalese? Knew a Nepalese guy for a short time. He was a co-worker who got promoted because of DEI, but not jealousy or anything. The place was closing down anyway. So he moved on quicker than everyone else. But he often would basically be afraid of talking about his commie government. But he was very happy when his commie government got a good thrashing. But none of you out there want to free Tibet from communism, right? Or Nepal from Chinese influence. Or how about the illegal occupation of Kashmir by Pakistan and India? Why can't Kashmir be independent? Yeah. You'll want to love breaking up Russia. But hey, what about India? It's not one country. It's an empire of 6 nations of the Hindi imperialist, the Hindi imperialist nation of India. It should be called, right? No. Remember, the Hindi chased the Assyrian people out. And yeah, you know that, right? The Assyrians came from India. Aryans came from India. They were chased out by the Hindis from the Indus Valley, which is now Pakistan, I think. So all these people are talking about integrity, man. At what point in history does integrity start? Can we choose a date? Which date? How about the end of World War II? Let's restore the post World War II borders. Yeah. So don't let the left tell you they have morality and don't trust the left, because they have no integrity. They don't care about the working class. That's just the means to the end, comrade. They want to get rid of all but the political class. And the political class, aka the academics, will rule over all without class. You'll all be classless with no power. Welcome to equality and equity of outcome. The only outcome that you can have equal is death and taxes and no wealth for anyone but the state. And the state will be perpetually ruled by the elite. Who are the elite? The politically educated, of course. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, socialism, fascism, communism are all parts of authoritarianism that must be all equally opposed, all equally despised, particularly Zelensky, because he is the biggest threat to Europe right now. He is a threat to the world right now. He is a threat to Ukraine right now. His escalation is putting Ukraine at risk of being a nuclear target. But he's not the only twat in the left who needs to go. So please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch, especially my Kickstarter starting in a few days. See you in the next video, and bye for now.